In the dead of night, as most of Kyiv's residents were fast asleep, the city was suddenly jolted awake by the piercing sound of air raid sirens. The wailing alarms echoed through the empty streets, bouncing off the high-rise apartment blocks and historic buildings alike. Within moments, the sky above Ukraine's capital was illuminated by flashes of orange and red as explosions erupted across the skyline. For many, it was a terrifying reminder that the war, now in its third year, continues to bring fear and uncertainty to daily life. The night was shattered not just by the noise, but by the knowledge that another massive attack was underway, one that would soon be revealed as among the largest and most coordinated in recent months. As the first explosions rocked Kyiv, reports began to pour in from across the country. Russian forces had launched a barrage of missiles and drones, targeting not only the capital but also cities and towns hundreds of kilometers away. This was not a random assault. It was a meticulously planned operation, designed to overwhelm Ukraine's air defenses and inflict maximum damage on both military and civilian infrastructure. The scale of the attack quickly became apparent as emergency alerts were issued in multiple regions, and the Ukrainian military scrambled to respond. In the early hours of the morning, as dawn began to break, the full extent of the Russian offensive came into focus. Dozens of missiles streaked across the sky, leaving trails of smoke in their wake. The coordinated strike was unprecedented in its intensity, with multiple waves of attacks launched in quick succession. Ukrainian officials described it as one of the most significant escalations in recent memory, a clear signal that Russia was determined to maintain pressure on Ukraine's defenses and morale. The attack was not limited to Kyiv. Russian missiles and drones targeted a wide swath of Ukrainian territory, striking cities and towns in at least 6 different regions. Maps released by Ukrainian authorities showed explosions dotting the landscape from the western borders to the eastern front lines. In some areas, critical infrastructure was hit, including power plants, communication hubs, and transportation networks. The goal was clear: to disrupt daily life, sow chaos, and undermine Ukraine's ability to resist. Among the weapons used in the assault were at least 3 ballistic missiles capable of traveling at incredible speeds and delivering devastating payloads. These missiles are notoriously difficult to intercept, and their use signaled a significant escalation in the conflict. Ballistic missiles can strike targets with little warning, making them especially dangerous for both military and civilian populations. Their inclusion in this attack underscored the seriousness of Russia's intentions and the challenges faced by Ukraine's defenders. But it wasn't just missiles that rained down on Ukraine. Over 100 drones were launched as part of the coordinated assault, with about 60 identified as Iranian-made Shahed-type drones. These drones, often referred to as kamikaze drones, are designed to loiter over a target area before diving down and detonating their explosive payloads. Their relatively low cost and ease of deployment have made them a favored weapon in this conflict, allowing Russia to strike deep into Ukrainian territory with minimal risk to its own forces. As the missiles and drones approached, Ukrainian air defense crews sprang into action. Across the country, radar operators tracked incoming threats, while anti-aircraft batteries and mobile missile units prepared to engage. The skies above Kyiv and other major cities were soon filled with the streaks of surface-to-air missiles and the thunder of anti-aircraft guns. In many cases, the defenders succeeded in intercepting and destroying the incoming drones and missiles before they could reach their targets, but the sheer volume of the attack meant that some inevitably slipped through. According to Ukrainian military officials, their air defense systems managed to destroy or suppress over 100 of the 115 drones launched during the night. This remarkable feat was a testament to the skill and determination of Ukraine's defenders, who have become increasingly adept at countering drone and missile threats. However, even with these successes, the danger was far from over. Burning debris from intercepted drones and missiles rained down on residential neighborhoods, setting buildings ablaze and causing further destruction. The aftermath of the attack was visible across 6 Ukrainian regions, where direct hits were reported. In city after city, emergency services rushed to the scenes of explosions, battling fires and searching for survivors amid the rubble. Apartment blocks, schools, hospitals, and factories all suffered damage, with some buildings reduced to smoldering ruins. The psychological impact on the population was profound, as families huddled in bomb shelters and basements, waiting for the all-clear signal. In addition to the direct hits, falling debris from intercepted missiles and drones caused damage in at least 8 more regions. In some cases, the fragments punched holes in rooftops, shattered windows, and started fires that quickly spread through residential neighborhoods. Firefighters and emergency crews worked through the night and into the morning, often risking their own lives to save others and prevent further destruction. The scale of the damage was still being assessed as daylight revealed the full extent of the devastation. In the southern port city of Odessa, the attack had particularly tragic consequences. A 60-year-old woman lost her life when a missile struck her neighborhood, and 3 others were injured in the blast. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, providing first aid and evacuating residents from damaged buildings. The loss of life was a stark reminder of the human cost of this conflict and the resilience of those who continue to endure its hardships. Critical infrastructure in Odessa and other cities was also targeted. Hotels, post offices, and power lines were hit, disrupting essential services and leaving thousands without electricity or communication. The targeting of such facilities appeared to be a deliberate attempt to undermine Ukraine's ability to function and to sow panic among the civilian population. Repair crews worked around the clock to restore power and services, but the damage was extensive and would take days, if not weeks, to fully repair. The city of Zaporizhzhia, already a frequent target in this war, was once again in the crosshairs. Strikes there killed 1 man and left several others injured. Emergency services responded swiftly, pulling survivors from the rubble and providing medical care to the wounded. The attack damaged both residential neighborhoods and industrial sites, further straining the city's resources and testing the resolve of its residents. In Zaporizhzhia, the destruction was widespread. Apartment buildings were left with gaping holes, their facades blackened by fire and smoke. Industrial facilities, some of which are vital to the local economy, were also hit, raising concerns about the long-term impact on jobs and livelihoods. For many in the city, the attack was yet another blow in a conflict that has already taken so much. In response to the massive assault, Ukraine wasted no time in launching counterattacks of its own. Ukrainian forces targeted oil facilities and supply depots inside Russia and in Russian-occupied Crimea, seeking to disrupt the logistics and fuel supplies that support the Russian war effort. Explosions were reported at several sites, with plumes of smoke rising into the sky as fires raged out of control. These strikes were a clear message that Ukraine retains the capability and the will to strike back, even in the face of overwhelming odds. One of the most significant counterattacks targeted an airfield in Crimea, a region that has been under Russian control since 2014. Satellite images and eyewitness reports confirmed that the airbase was hit, with several aircraft and support facilities damaged or destroyed. The attack on Crimea was symbolic as well as strategic, demonstrating Ukraine's ability to reach deep into territory held by Russian forces and to challenge their sense of security. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry held a press conference to address the situation. Officials claimed that Russian air defenses had shot down nearly 70 Ukrainian drones, including 36 that were reportedly aimed at Moscow itself. The ministry released footage of anti-aircraft systems firing into the night sky, and images of drone wreckage scattered across fields and roads near the Russian capital. The scale of the Ukrainian drone offensive was unprecedented, and it underscored the evolving nature of this conflict, where both sides are increasingly relying on unmanned systems to strike at each other's heartlands. The attempted drone strikes on Moscow were particularly significant, as they brought the realities of war closer to the Russian public. For many in the capital, the sound of explosions and the sight of smoke rising on the horizon were a stark reminder that the conflict is not confined to distant battlefields. Russian authorities moved quickly to reassure the public, but the psychological impact was undeniable. The use of drones to target major cities represents a new phase in the war, one that threatens to escalate the conflict even further. The human cost of these attacks is impossible to ignore. Across Ukraine, families have been forced to flee their homes, seeking shelter in underground bunkers, subway stations, and makeshift camps. Children are growing up in a world where the sound of sirens and explosions is a daily reality. Vital infrastructure, power plants, water treatment facilities, hospitals, has been damaged or destroyed, making life even more difficult for those who remain. The resilience of the Ukrainian people is remarkable, but the toll of constant attacks is wearing them down. Both Ukraine and Russia are now bracing for further escalation. Military units on both sides are on high alert, preparing for the possibility of new offensives or retaliatory strikes. Civilians are stocking up on supplies, reinforcing their homes, and making contingency plans in case the violence intensifies. The international community is watching closely, with world leaders calling for restraint but also pledging continued support for Ukraine's defense. The situation remains fluid, and the risk of a wider conflict is ever present. As the dust settles and the world takes stock of the latest escalation, one thing is clear. The war in Ukraine is far from over. Each new attack brings fresh devastation but also new stories of courage and resilience. The coming days and weeks will be critical, as both sides assess their losses and plan their next moves. For now, the people of Ukraine, and indeed the world, wait anxiously for what comes next. Stay tuned for updates as this conflict continues to unfold, and as the struggle for Ukraine's future enters yet another dangerous and uncertain chapter.